A quiet evening in Cedar Hollow ends when the heavens tear apart. The sun had just dipped below the hills, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples. Crickets began their nightly song, and the air smelled of pine and damp earth. Elijah sat on the back porch of his aunt's old farmhouse, boots propped on the railing, sketching in a worn notebook. He was 16, lean and quiet, with eyes that noticed things others missed. The way leaves trembled before a storm, the flicker in a stranger's smile that meant trouble. He didn't talk much, but he listened, and tonight, the world felt too still, like it was holding its breath. In town, folks were finishing dinner. Mrs. Garvey walked her terrier down Maple Lane. Kids laughed near the creek, chasing fireflies. No one saw the first streak across the sky. Not really. It looked like a falling star, bright and fast. But then it didn't fade, it grew. It split. With a sound like glass shattering 1,000 miles away, the air above Cedar Hollow cracked open. Not a cloud, not a plane, something deeper, wrong. The ground trembled. Birds exploded from the trees. Elijah dropped his pencil and stood, heart hammering. The sky wasn't sky anymore. It was a wound glowing violet at the edges, spitting sparks like angry embers. From that tear, something fell. It wasn't metal. It wasn't fire. It was a figure, slim, pale, wrapped in a cloak that shimmered like water under moonlight. She hit the cornfield at the edge of town with a soft thud, rolled once, then rose unsteadily. Behind her, curled against her chest, was a creature no bigger than a house cat, its scales dark as midnight, wings folded tight like a bat's. One of its eyes glowed faintly gold. The other was shut, crusted with blood. The girl, because she looked young, though her eyes held centuries, staggered toward the road. Her skin was smooth and silver-tinged, her ears long and tapered. Her hair, black as space, clung to her face in sweaty strands. She moved like someone who'd run for days without rest. Then came the hum, low at first, then rising to a whine that made teeth ache. 3 shapes dropped from the tear in the sky, sleek, black, insect-like. They hovered 10 feet above the ground, legs unfolding like spiders. From their bellies, red beams scanned the field. Soldiers, not human. Their armor pulsed with cold blue light, and their faces, if they had faces, were hidden behind smooth masks. Elijah didn't think. He ran, he didn't know why. Maybe it was the way the girl limped, clutching that small dragon like it was the last good thing in the world. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes when she saw the hunters land. Or maybe it was just that no one else was moving. The town was frozen, windows lit but curtains drawn, doors locked. He reached the road just as the lead hunter raised its arm. A weapon formed from its wrist, long, thin, humming with energy. The girl turned, shielding the dragon with her body. She whispered something in a language that sounded like wind through crystal. The weapon fired. A bolt of white-hot plasma shot toward her. It moved faster than sound, faster than thought. Elijah didn't dodge, he lunged. He shoved her sideways with all his weight. The blast hit him square in the shoulder. Pain exploded. Not sharp, but deep, like his bones were melting. He flew backward, skidding across the gravel. Smoke rose from his shirt. His arm went numb. He couldn't breathe. The world spun, colors bleeding into gray. But he saw her. The girl scrambled to him, eyes wide with shock. She knelt, pressing her hands over the burn. Her touch was cool, soothing. The dragon, Nyx, though he didn't know the name yet, crawled onto his chest, its good eye fixed on his. A low purr rumbled from its throat, and warmth spread through Elijah's body, dulling the worst of the pain. The hunters advanced, one raised its weapon again. But then, a sound like thunder rolled across the hills, not from the sky, from the earth. The ground shook harder, trees bent, the air filled with a deep resonant tone like a bell struck in another world. The hunters froze. Their lights flickered. The girl looked up, hope flashing in her silver eyes. "They're coming," she whispered. Above, the tear in the sky widened, not with violence but with grace. A ship emerged, long and curved like a crescent moon made of something that wasn't metal but alive, breathing light. It had no engines, no weapons visible, yet the hunters backed away, their hum turning to a whine of fear. The ship hovered silently. A beam of soft blue light descended, wrapping around the girl, the dragon, and Elijah. He felt himself lifted, weightless as if carried by hands made of starlight. His last thought before darkness took him was how quiet it all was. No screams, no sirens, just the wind and the dragon's purr and the girl's voice, soft as a promise. "Thank you," she said. "You saved us." When he woke, he was no longer in Cedar Hollow. He lay on a bed of woven vines that glowed faintly green. The ceiling arched like a living cave, roots twisting into patterns that shifted when he blinked. His shoulder was bandaged with something that felt like silk, but pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Nick slept curled on his chest, warm and steady. The girl sat nearby, watching him. "You're awake," she said. Her voice was calm, but her fingers twisted in her cloak. "I feared you wouldn't be." Elijah tried to speak, but his throat was dry. She handed him a cup filled with clear liquid that tasted like rain and mint. He drank. Strength seeped back into his limbs. "Who are you?" he finally asked. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I am of the Scifi. And this," she gently touched Nyx's head, "is Nyx. My bond warden." "Bond warden, not a pet," she said almost sternly. "A guardian." The last of his line. "We share a life thread. If I fall, he fades. If he dies, I lose part of my soul." Elijah looked at the small dragon. Nyx opened his good eye and blinked slowly as if in agreement. "Why were they chasing you?" Lyra's face darkened. "The Kralk's dominion seeks to erase all who resist their rule. My people refuse to join their war. So they came for us. For our knowledge. For our bond with the sky dragons. Nyx is the last hatchling. They wanted him. Or his death. And you came here. Earth was a whisper in our star charts. A world untouched by the dominion. A place to hide. I didn't expect kindness." She looked at his shoulder. "Least of all sacrifice." Elijah shrugged, then winced. "I didn't think. Just moved." That seemed to trouble her. "Humans act on instinct. We act on duty. Your kind is unpredictable. Is that bad?" "Not always." She smiled faintly. "Sometimes it saves lives." Outside the chamber, a deep voice spoke. Lyra stood quickly. "My father has arrived." A tall figure entered. He wore no crown, but his presence filled the room like a mountain. His eyes were the same silver as Lyra's, but older, heavier. His robes flowed like liquid shadow, and when he moved, the air seemed to bow. He looked at Elijah not with suspicion, but with something close to wonder. "You are the one who stood between my daughter and death," the man said. His voice was low, calm, but carried weight. Elijah nodded. "You are human, fragile, short-lived. And yet you gave your body without promise of reward." The man stepped closer. "Why? She didn't deserve to die," Elijah said simply. The man, King Virel, though Elijah didn't know his name yet, studied him for a long moment. Then he placed a hand on Elijah's forehead. Warmth spread through him, not painful but searching. "Your heart is clean," Virel said. "No greed, no fear of consequence. Only care." He turned to Lyra. "This boy is rare. He's injured," Lyra said. "He needs rest. Earth is his home. We cannot keep him." "Perhaps not," Virel said. "But we owe him more than silence." He looked back at Elijah. "You have done a great thing, child of Earth. The Scifi do not forget such acts. When you are strong, we will speak again." He left as quietly as he came. Lyra sighed and sat back down. "My father sees patterns in everything. Do not let his words trouble you. You will return home soon." But Elijah wasn't sure he wanted to. The world he knew felt small now. Gray. Predictable. Here, even in pain, everything shimmered with meaning. The vines breathed. The dragon dreamed. And Lyra. Lyra carried a war in her eyes, but also a kindness he hadn't seen in years. He looked out the window. The sky was black, but filled with stars he didn't recognize. No moon. No familiar constellations. Just endless, beautiful unknown. "Where are we?" he asked. "Orbiting your world," Lyra said, "but far enough that no human eye can see us. We watch, we wait, we heal. How long was I out? 3 days. Elijah's stomach dropped. "My aunt, she'll be worried." "We sent a signal, a story. She believes you were in a car accident, recovering in a distant hospital. It will hold, for now." He didn't know whether to be grateful or afraid. Nick stirred, stretching his wings. A soft golden light pulsed from his scales. Lyra placed a hand on his back. "He likes you," she said, surprised. "Bond wardens do not offer warmth lightly. Maybe he knows I'm harmless. Or maybe he sees what my father sees." Before Elijah could ask what that meant, alarms chimed softly through the chamber. Lyra stood alert. "Krelk scouts. They've found our trail." Virel reappeared at the doorway, face grim. "We must move. The Ark cannot stay hidden long. What about him? Lyra nodded to Elijah. Varel looked at the boy, then at the stars beyond the window. He stays with us. For his safety. And ours. Elijah didn't protest. Part of him knew. Going back now would be like waking from a dream and pretending it never happened. And this was no dream. As the ship hummed to life, lifting higher into the void, Elijah closed his eyes. His shoulder ached. His world had shattered. But for the first time he felt like he belonged somewhere. Even if that somewhere was among stars he'd never seen, with a silver-eyed girl and a wounded dragon. Aboard the Scifi Skyark, Elijah learned that silence could speak louder than any voice. Weeks passed in the gentle rhythm of the ship. The Skyark was not like human vessels. No clanging metal, no roaring engines. It breathed. Its walls pulsed with soft light, shifting colors with the mood of the crew. Corridors curved like tree roots, and rooms grew new furniture when needed, shaped from living wood and woven light. Elijah's shoulder healed faster than it should have, thanks to the bandages that hummed with energy and Nyx's nightly purring, which seemed to knit his cells back together. Lyra visited often, though she never stayed long. She taught him basic Scifi words, greetings, warnings, names of stars. She showed him how to read the ship's mood by the color of the walls. Blue meant calm. Amber meant caution. Deep violet meant grief. Why violet, he once asked. We lost a sister ship last cycle, she said quietly. The Krelliks found their hiding place. None survived. Elijah didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. That was something he understood. Loss without answers. Nyx, meanwhile, had taken to sleeping at the foot of his bed, wings tucked like a cloak. Sometimes in the quiet hours, the dragon would nudge Elijah's hand with his snout, as if checking he was still there. It was strange, this bond forming between a boy from Earth and a creature older than cities, but it felt right. Then came the day the king summoned him. Varel did not send guards or messengers. He came himself, appearing at Elijah's chamber door as if he'd always been there. His silver eyes held no judgment, only quiet observation. You are stronger now, Varel said. Elijah stood. Yes, sir. Walk with me. They moved through the heart of the ark. The corridors widened into open gardens where trees grew upside down, roots reaching for a sky that wasn't there. Flowers bloomed in mid-air, petals drifting like snow. Other Scifi passed, tall, graceful, their movements fluid. They nodded to Varel, but their eyes lingered on Elijah, some with curiosity, others with doubt. They do not trust humans, Varel said, as if reading his thoughts. To them you are a spark in dry grass, unpredictable, dangerous. You took fire for my daughter. That is not danger. That is grace. They reached a chamber open to the void. No glass, no barrier. Just a ledge overlooking endless stars. Earth hung in the distance, a blue marble wrapped in clouds. Elijah's breath caught. He'd never seen his home from so far away. It looked peaceful. Fragile. You miss it, Varel said. Sometimes. Yet you do not ask to return. Elijah hesitated. I don't know if I can go back. Not after this. Varel nodded slowly. Once you see the truth of the universe, small lies become heavy. Your world hides from the stars. Ours does not have that luxury. He turned to face Elijah fully. I have watched you. You do not boast. You do not demand. You listen. You learn. You care for Nyx as if he were your own blood. These are not human traits as we have known them. I'm just me, Elijah said. And that is rare. Varel placed a hand on his shoulder, the uninjured one. The Scifi do not adopt lightly. Our bonds are for life. But I see in you what my ancestors saw in their first allies. A heart that chooses others before itself. I offer you a place here, not as a guest, not as a prisoner, but as my ward. As family, Elijah froze. Your ward, you would be raised among us, taught our ways, protected, honored, and when the time comes, you will help decide our path. But I'm human. I'll age. I'll die while you're still young. We know this, Varel said gently, but time is not the measure of worth. A single act of courage can echo longer than 1,000 years of silence. Before Elijah could answer, Lyra appeared at the entrance, her face tight. Father, she said, voice low, this is not wise. Why not? He is not one of us. The court will never accept him. The elders will call it weakness. The warriors will see it as betrayal. Let them speak, Varel said. Truth does not bow to fear. And what of him, she gestured to Elijah. Does he even want this? All eyes turned to him. Elijah looked at Earth, then at Lyra, then at Nix, who had followed silently and now sat at his feet, tail curled around his ankle. He thought of his aunt's kitchen, the smell of cinnamon toast, the sound of rain on the roof. He thought of school, of loneliness, of days that blurred together with no meaning. Here, even in danger, he felt seen. "I'll stay," he said. Lyra's expression didn't change, but her shoulders dropped slightly as if a weight had shifted. Virel smiled, a rare thing. "Then it is done." News spread through the ark like wind through leaves. Some Silthari whispered in the gardens. Others avoided Elijah in the halls. A few young ones watched him with open curiosity, as if he were a strange animal from a lost world. Training began the next day, not with weapons, but with stillness. Elijah sat in the whispering garden, cross-legged, eyes closed. Lyra knelt across from him. "Breathe with the ark," she instructed. "Feel its pulse. It is alive, it dreams. If you listen, it will guide you." At first, Elijah heard nothing, just his own heartbeat. But after hours of sitting, something changed. A low hum filled his ears, not sound, but vibration. The floor beneath him rose and fell like a chest. The air thickened with warmth. "You feel it," Lyra said, not opening her eyes. "Yeah, it's breathing. Good. Now ask it for help. How? Not with words. With need." Elijah thought of his weak shoulder, the lingering ache. He focused on that, not as pain, but as a request. The garden responded. Vines slithered toward him, wrapping gently around his arm. Light seeped from their tips, warm and golden. The ache faded. Lyra opened her eyes. "You have a gift for this. Most humans cannot connect. Their minds are too loud. Maybe mine's just been quiet a long time." As days turned to weeks, Elijah learned more. He walked the memory paths, hallways where images of Silthari history played on the walls like living paintings. He saw their cities built from song, their wars fought with light, their peace sealed with shared dreams. He learned that the dragons were not beasts, but ancient beings who chose their bonds carefully. Nix had chosen Lyra at birth, and somehow he had chosen Elijah too. One evening, as they rested on the observation ledge, Lyra finally spoke what had been unsaid. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why take the blast?" Elijah watched a comet streak across the dark. "I didn't want you to die, but you didn't know me. I saw you holding Nix. You were scared, but you didn't run. You stood your ground. That mattered." She was silent for a long time. Then softly, "No one has ever done that for me. Not without wanting something back. I didn't want anything. That's what scares me." Before he could ask why, alarms chimed. Amber this time. "Caution." Virel's voice echoed through the ark. "Krellick signal detected. Long range. They are searching." The mood shifted. The walls dimmed to deep blue. Silthari moved with purpose, not panic. Elijah stood. "What do? We hide," Lyra said. "The ark can fold into shadow. But if they get closer..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. That night, Elijah couldn't sleep. He paced his chamber, Nix padding beside him. The dragon's single eye glowed faintly, scanning the dark. Then a soft knock. Virel entered, holding a small box made of starwood. "A gift," he said. Inside was a pendant, smooth. Black stone with a single golden vein running through it. "This is a life thread," Virel explained. "It holds a piece of Nix's essence. And now yours. If you are ever lost, it will lead you home. If you are in danger, it will warn us." Elijah touched it. Warmth spread through his fingers. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because you are my son now," Virel said simply. "Not by blood, but by choice. And choice is stronger." Elijah fastened the pendant around his neck. It settled against his skin like it had always been there. Outside, the stars watched. Silent, waiting, and somewhere in the dark, the Krellicks hunted. But for now, in the heart of the Sky Ark, a human boy stood beside a king of stars, a dragon at his feet, and a future no one had foreseen. Aboard the Sky Ark, truth grew like vines, slow, quiet, and impossible to ignore. Elijah no longer dreamed of Earth. When he slept, he saw silver forests under twin moons, heard the low song of dragon wings, felt the pulse of the ark beneath his feet like a second heartbeat. He trained daily in the whispering gardens, learning to move with the ship's rhythm, to draw strength from its light. His human body adapted in ways he could not explain. His reflexes sharpened, his senses deepened. He could taste fear in the air, hear the shift of mood in the walls. Nix grew too, no longer the wounded scrap of scales Elijah first met. The dragon now stood knee-high, his wings broad and edged with faint gold. His injured eye remained closed, but the other glowed brighter each day, watching Elijah with something close to pride. They moved as one. Elijah ducking when Nyx hissed, Nyx curling around him when storms of cosmic dust rattled the ark. Lyra watched them both. She trained Elijah in silence, her hands firm but never harsh. She taught him the old ways, the language of light, the dance of defense, the art of listening to what was not said. But she kept her distance in other ways. She never stayed after lessons, never shared meals, never spoke of her past beyond what was needed. "You are holding back," Varel said to her one evening as they stood on the observation ledge. "He is human," Lyra replied. "His time here is borrowed. The more he feels, the harder it will be when he leaves or dies. You fear for him, I fear for us all." The court whispers. The elders grow restless. They say you have been softened by grief, that you see a sun where there is only a stranger. Varel looked at the stars. Perhaps, or perhaps I see clearly for the first time. Meanwhile, Elijah learned the truth about Nyx. One afternoon, deep in the memory vaults, he found a mural unlike the others. It showed dragons, not small like Nyx, but vast, their wings spanning cities, their eyes holding galaxies. Silthari stood beside them, hands linked, faces calm. They were not pets, Lyra said from behind him. They were partners, equals. Each dragon chose one Silthari at birth. Their lives intertwined. If one fell, the other faded. Not from grief, from design. Their souls were woven together. So Nyx chose you, yes. The night I was born, he hatched. Our first breaths were shared, and now he's with me too. She hesitated. That has never happened before. A bond warden does not split its thread. Yet Nyx reaches for you. The elders say it is a sign. Others say it is a flaw. What do you say? Lyra looked at him, really looked, for the first time since he arrived. I say the universe does not make mistakes. That night, during a routine patrol through the lower gardens, Nyx stopped suddenly. His wings flared. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Elijah froze. The air felt wrong, too still, too cold. What is it? He whispered. Nyx turned and bolted down a side passage. Elijah followed. The dragon led him to a sealed chamber near the ark's core, a place reserved for sacred relics. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, a figure in dark robes stood over the heart crystal, the glowing source of the ark's life. In their hand was a vial of black liquid. Spy. Elijah didn't shout. He didn't charge. He remembered Lyra's lessons. Stillness before action. He signaled Nyx with a flick of his fingers. The dragon leapt, not at the spy, but at the ceiling vines. They snapped, tangling the intruder's arms. Elijah lunged, knocking the vial from their grasp. It shattered on the floor, hissing like acid. The spy turned, hood falling back to reveal a Silthari face, young but hardened. Traitor, Elijah said. Fool. The spy spat. The Kreleks offer peace, survival. Your king clings to honor while our people vanish. I do what must be done. Before Elijah could respond, Lyra and Varel appeared, flanked by guards. The spy was taken without struggle. Later, in the judgment chamber, the truth spilled like blood. The spy, named Kale, had been feeding coordinates to the Kreleks for weeks. The black liquid was a slow poison meant to weaken the ark's core, making it visible to enemy sensors. Why? Varel asked, voice heavy. Because hope is dying, Kyle said, and you replaced it with a human boy. All eyes turned to Elijah. He said nothing. He didn't need to. Varel exiled Kyle, not to death but to silence. Stripped of name, of bond, of voice. A fate worse than execution among the Silthari. Afterward, Lyra found Elijah on the ledge, staring at Earth. You saved the Ark, she said. Nyx did. You led him. You saw what others missed. He shrugged. I just paid attention. That is the rarest gift. She sat beside him. For the first time, she did not leave after a few minutes. They watched the stars in silence. Then she spoke, soft as breath. When I saw you take that blast, I thought no one does that. Not for strangers. Not for aliens. But you did. And now you stay. You learn. You protect. Why, Elijah looked at her. Because you matter. Nyx matters. This place matters. And someone has to stand for what's right. Even if they're just a kid from Cedar Hollow. Lyra's eyes shimmered. Not with tears, Silthari did not cry, but with something deeper. Recognition. You are not just a kid, she said. Days later, Varel called a gathering of the High Conclave. All elders, warriors, scholars, and Elijah. He stood at the king's side, Nyx at his feet, the life thread pendant warm against his chest. This boy, Virel announced, has uncovered betrayal that would have doomed us. He has learned our ways without losing his own. He has earned not just my trust, but yours. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. An elder stepped forward. He is human. His life is a flicker. How can he guide us? Because, Virel said, a flicker can light the darkest path. Then came the attack. Not scouts, not probes. A full Krellic strike force, 3 war shards, black and jagged, tearing through the void like teeth. They had found the Ark. Alarms blared. The walls turned crimson. Battle stations, Virel commanded. Elijah ran to the command spire, Lyra beside him. Warriors took their places, hands on light weapons. But Elijah saw what they did not. They're not attacking the hull, he said. They're targeting the memory vaults. The history. The dragon records? Why? Lyra asked. Because if they erase your past, they control your future. Virel nodded. Protect the vaults. Elijah had no weapon. But he had Nyx. And he had earthborn cunning. Follow me, he said. They raced through the lower decks, not to fight, but to mislead. Elijah triggered old maintenance tunnels. Rerouted power. Flooded corridors with harmless but blinding mist. He used human tricks, improvisation, chaos, misdirection. Nyx soared ahead, wings blazing with stored starlight, drawing fire away from the vaults. In the chaos, Elijah spotted the lead Krellic's commander, a towering figure in spiked armor, directing the assault from a hovering platform. He didn't charge. He waited. When the commander turned, Elijah dropped from a vent above, landing on its back. He jammed his fingers into the joints of its mask, weak points he'd learned from old war documentaries on Earth. The armor hissed, locking up. The commander crashed to the floor. Silthari warriors swarmed, securing the platform. The Krellics retreated. Their mission failed, but victory came at a cost. The Ark's core had taken damage. Sections flickered in and out. The gardens dimmed. And Elijah, exhausted, bleeding from a gash on his temple, collapsed near the heart crystal. Lyra caught him before he hit the ground. You reckless human, she whispered. But her voice shook. Virel approached, face grim. You saved our history, but the court will not see it that way. They will call you a warmonger, a disruptor. Let them, Elijah said weakly. I did what was right. Nyx nuzzled his hand, purring fiercely. That night, as the Ark drifted in wounded silence, Lyra stayed by Elijah's side. She did not speak of duty. She did not mention the court. She simply sat, her hand resting lightly on his, as if anchoring him to this world, and for the first time, Elijah understood. This was no longer about survival. It was about belonging. Even if the stars themselves tried to tear it apart. A Skyark healed, but its people did not. After the battle, silence settled like frost over the ship. The walls glowed a dull gray, not from damage, but from mood. The Silthari moved quietly, eyes downcast, voices hushed. Elijah noticed it first during meals. Empty seats where warriors once sat, elders turning away when he passed. Even the children no longer watching him with curiosity but with wary distance. He had saved the memory vaults. He had helped drive back the Krellics. Yet instead of praise, he found cold shoulders. Lyra tried to shield him. They fear what they do not understand, she said one morning as they walked the upper gardens. Nyx trotted ahead, sniffing the air like he sensed the tension too. I didn't ask to be a hero, Elijah said. I just stopped them from burning your history. But you used human ways, chaos, deception, violence. It worked. To us, that is not honor. It is noise. He stopped walking. So I should have let them win. Lyra looked away. No, but now they see you as a weapon, not a son. Virel still treated him with warmth, but even the king's presence could not stop the whispers. In the conclave chamber, voices grew louder. He brings the Krellics upon us, one elder said. They did not know our location until he arrived. He fights like a beast, a warrior added. No grace, no ritual, only speed and surprise. He is not Silthari, another said simply. He never will be. Virel listened, face unreadable. But Elijah saw the weight in his eyes. That night, Elijah stood on the observation ledge alone. Earth was a distant speck now, barely visible. He touched the life thread pendant, warm, steady. Nyx sat beside him, tail curled around his boot. Maybe I should go back, he murmured. Nyx made a low sound, almost a whine. You'd come with me. Wouldn't you? The dragon pressed his head against Elijah's leg. Before he could think more, Lyra appeared. She didn't speak at first, just stood beside him watching the stars. They want you exiled, she finally said. I know. Father refuses, but if the conclave votes as one, even he must obey. What do you want? She turned to him. I want you to stay, but I also want you safe and here. You are neither. He nodded. Then maybe leaving is the right thing. It is not that simple. If you return to Earth, the Kralex may follow. They know you helped us. They will hunt your world for you. Elijah's stomach dropped. My aunt, my town, we can hide you. Erase your trail. But you would never see them again. Not truly. Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Then the alarm sounded. Not amber, not crimson. Black. The deepest warning. Virel's voice echoed through the arc, calm but urgent. Full Kralex fleet. They have found us. Not scouts. Not shards. A war host, Elijah ran. By the time he reached the command spire, the arc was shaking. View screens showed dozens of Kralex vessels, massive, jagged, bristling with weapons. They formed a ring around the sky arc, cutting off escape. They mean to crush us, a warrior said. Or take the core, another replied. Virel stood at the center, eyes closed, hands on the heartstone. They know we are weakened. They believe we will surrender. Will we? Elijah asked. Virel opened his eyes. No, but we cannot fight them head-on. Not like this. Then he looked at Elijah. You see paths others miss. Show us one. All eyes turned to the human boy. Elijah thought fast. The Silthari fought with light, with harmony, with precision. The Kralex fought with fear, with overwhelming force. But fear had cracks. They rely on their leader, he said. The one in the central vessel. If we take him out, the fleet hesitates. Even machines need a mind. How do we reach him? Lyra asked. We don't attack the ship. We trick it. He laid out a plan, wild, reckless, human. Use the Ark's damaged sections as bait. Fake a power failure in the lower decks. Lure the Kralex into thinking the core was failing. While they focused on boarding, a small team would slip out in a cloaked skiff. Guided not by engines, but by Nyx's bond to the stars. Nyx can navigate the void without signals, Elijah explained. They won't detect us. It is madness, an elder said. Madness won last time, Virel replied. Prepare the skiff. The team was small, Elijah, Lyra, 2 warriors, and Nyx. They boarded the skiff, a sleek pod grown from the Ark's own bark. No weapons, only stealth and speed. As they launched, the Ark dimmed its lights, mimicking system failure. The Kralex took the bait. Boarding claws extended. Ships moved closer. The skiff shot into the dark, Nyx perched on Elijah's shoulder, eyes glowing like twin suns. They reached the command vessel unseen. Inside, it was cold, metal, dead, nothing like the living Ark. Corridors echoed with mechanical hums. No plants, no light, only shadows and steel. They moved like ghosts. Elijah led, using instincts honed in Cedar Hollow, reading air currents, listening for footsteps, avoiding cameras by instinct. Lyra followed, her light blade ready. They found the command chamber. The Kralex commander stood before a massive screen, barking orders, tall, armored, face hidden behind a mask of black crystal. Elijah didn't hesitate. He threw a small device, a distraction made from arc vines and stored energy. It burst into blinding light and sound. The guards turned. Lyra struck. In seconds, the chamber was clear. Only the commander remained. He turned slowly. The human. You should have stayed away, Elijah said. The commander laughed. A dry, hollow sound. You think this is about you, it is not. The Silthari hoard knowledge. They refuse to share the dragon bond. They believe themselves chosen. We will unmake that lie. They protect life. You destroy it. Destruction clears the way for order. Before he could say more, Nyx leapt. Not to kill, but to blind. His wings flared, releasing a pulse of ancient light. The commander staggered, mask cracking. Elijah saw his face, Silthari, not Kralex. A defector. You joined them, Lyra whispered, horrified. I saved us, the traitor spat. Your king clings to dreams while our people vanish. The Kralex offer strength. Virel's voice came through the skiff's calm. Elijah, the fleet is regrouping. You must return. Not yet, Elijah said. He looked at the traitor, then at the control panel. If we destroy this ship, the fleet scatters. It will take time, Lyra said. We don't have time. Then he did something no Silthari would do. He overloaded the core manually. using his own body as a conductor, channeling the Ark's energy through the life thread pendant. Pain seared through him, but he held on. The ship groaned. "Go!" he shouted. Lyra grabbed him, dragging him back to the skiff as explosions rocked the vessel. They barely escaped before it tore itself apart. The Kralex fleet, leaderless, fell into confusion. Some turned on each other, others fled. The Ark was safe, but Elijah collapsed as soon as they docked. His skin was pale, his breath shallow. The pendant was cracked, smoking. Varel met them at the bay. His face was grave. "You saved us again," he said. "At what cost?" an elder muttered. "He used forbidden methods. He risked the Ark's energy. He is becoming dangerous." Varel silenced them with a look. But Elijah heard the truth. He was no longer the boy who took a blast for kindness. He was the weapon they feared. In the days that followed, the conclave called for judgment, exile, not as punishment, as protection, for him and for them, Varel argued. Lyra pleaded, but the vote was cast. Elijah would return to Earth. That night, he packed nothing. He owned nothing here but memories. Lyra found him in the gardens. "I'm sorry," she said. "Don't be. I knew this might happen. You gave everything. I got more than I ever had." Nyx pressed against his leg, purring weakly. The bond had strained during the overload. "He will not let you go alone," Lyra said. "He can't come. Earth isn't his world. It is now." Before Elijah could respond, Varel arrived. He carried no crown, no staff, just a small satchel. "The conclave has spoken," he said, "but a father's word remains." He opened the satchel. Inside were seeds, arc seeds, glowing faintly. "Plant these where you settle. They will grow into a shelter, a bridge, a home. You're letting me take them. You earned them." Then Varel did something no Silthari king had done in centuries. He knelt. "You are my son," he said, voice thick, "not by law, not by blood, but by choice, and no vote can undo that." Elijah's throat tightened. Lyra stepped forward. "I go with him." Varel looked at her, surprised. "Someone must teach him how to live among humans again," she said. "And someone must watch over Nyx. You would leave your people. My people are here," she said, nodding to Elijah. Silence. Then Varel smiled. "Then go. But know this, the Sky Ark will always open its doors to you. All of you." As the transport pod prepared for departure, Elijah looked back at the ship that had become his home. He was no longer just an Earth boy. He was something new, something between worlds, and the war was far from over. The ground felt strange under Elijah's boots. Solid, too quiet, too still weeks had passed since he and Lyra landed on Earth. They chose a remote valley in the northern woods, far from cities, far from questions. The arc seeds Varel gave them had sprouted quickly, weaving into a small dome of living wood and soft light, hidden beneath layers of illusion. To any passerby, it was just an old ranger cabin, overgrown and forgotten. But inside, the walls breathed. The air hummed with warmth, and Nyx slept curled by the hearth, his scales shimmering like captured starlight. Elijah tried to adjust. He wore human clothes again, jeans, flannel, boots. He ate real food, not light nourishment. He even visited his aunt once from a distance, watching her tend her garden, laughing with neighbors. He did not approach. The story held. He was recovering from an accident in another state. She believed it. And that was enough. But nights were hardest. He dreamed of the Ark, of crimson alarms, of the traitor's silver eyes behind the mask. He woke gasping, hand on the cracked life thread pendant, Nyx already alert beside him. Lyra never asked if he was okay. She just sat with him, silent until his breathing slowed. One morning, as frost coated the trees, a message came, not through phones or satellites, but through the roots of the Ark dome. The ground trembled softly, and a vine uncurled to reveal a glowing orb. Varel's voice filled the room, calm but urgent. "The Kralex have returned, not with ships, with whispers. They spread lies among human governments. They say we are invaders, that you are a weapon we planted. They seek to turn your world against you." Elijah's blood ran cold. "They know where I am." "Not yet, but they are close. And if Earth falls to fear, the Silthari lose our last ally." The orb dimmed. Silence returned. Lyra looked at him. "What will you do? I can't hide forever. You go to them, they will lock you away, study you, fear you. Then I won't go alone." He meant her. And Nyx. She understood. They left the valley at dawn. Not to run, but to speak. Their first stop was Geneva, the World Council on Extraterrestrial Contact, a secret branch formed after decades of unexplained sightings. They had no proof, only theories, until Elijah walked in. He did not come with weapons. He came with truth. In a secure chamber beneath the Alps, he stood before 12 representatives from different nations. Lyra stood beside him, hooded but present. Nyx remained hidden, but his presence hummed in the air like distant thunder. "You are not the first human to claim contact," said a woman with sharp eyes and a Russian accent. "Why should we believe you?" Elijah did not argue. He simply held out his hand. The cracked pendant glowed. The walls of the chamber responded. Vines sprouted from the concrete, blooming with soft blue flowers. The air warmed. A single beam of light, pure Silthari energy, pierced the ceiling. Forming a star map only the Silthari knew, gasps filled the room. "This is not trickery," Elijah said. "This is invitation." He told them everything, the war, the dragons, the bond, the Krellick's lies. He spoke of Virel not as a king, but as a father, of Lyra not as an alien but as a friend, of Nyx not as a beast but as a guardian. And when he finished, the Russian woman stood. "You ask for trust," she said, "but trust requires risk." "What do you offer in return?" "Knowledge," Lyra said, stepping forward, hood falling. Her silver eyes met theirs without fear. "We offer healing, clean energy, ways to mend your world, not as rulers, as partners." Silence stretched. Then one by one they agreed. Not fully, not blindly, but enough. A new plan formed. Elijah would not be hidden. He would be seen, not as a weapon, but as a bridge. They called it the Cedar Initiative, named for the town where it all began. A joint human Silthari effort to share, to learn, to prepare. Small at first. Just a few scientists, a secure base, open channels to the Ark. But it was a start. Back at the valley, Virel appeared in person, not through vines or orbs, but stepping from a fold in the air, robes flowing, face lined with both pride and sorrow. "You have done what I could not," he told Elijah. "You made them listen." "They listened because they saw hope," Elijah replied. Virel turned to Lyra. "And you chose your path, and I did. You will not return to the Ark as a princess. You will return as an ambassador." "As his equal," she nodded. "I know." Then Virel did something unexpected. He removed his crown. Not the physical one, but the light that circled his brow, the mark of kingship. He placed it gently in Elijah's hands. "A true son does not inherit a throne," he said. "He earns the right to protect it. Carry this not as power, but as promise." Elijah held the light. It did not burn. It pulsed, warm and steady like a heartbeat. The war was not over. The Krellick still hunted. Fear still spread. But now, Earth was no longer just a hiding place. It was a home. And Elijah was no longer just a boy who took a blast for a stranger. He was the first of a new kind. Human and Silthari. Earth and stars, past and future. Lyra stood beside him, Nyx at their feet, the crown light glowing softly in Elijah's palm. Somewhere above, the sky arc watched, and for the first time in centuries the stars felt less lonely.